Please be seated. The court is now back in session. The chamber will give the floor once again to the prosecution to put questions to this witness. The prosecution please advise the court of the arrangement between the prosecution and the lead co-lawyers for civil party. And also your questions should be directed towards the relevant facts. And that is the role of the accused as requested by the prosecution for additional witnesses. Please put your questions related to those reasons that you requested to the chamber as well as the reasons given during the TMM. You may proceed. Chawan, thank you, Mr. President. We discussed with the lead co-lawyer for civil parties, and we were advised that they only need about 20 minutes. And we started late this morning, so we will try our best to finish at the allocated time. If we cannot do it, we would only seek your approval for an additional 10 or 15 minutes. The chamber, it is unlikely that the chamber will grant you additional time. You need to use the time effectively, and your questions are directed toward the related facts. And I reminded you again, please, to refer to the reasons in your request for additional witnesses. Chawan, thank you, Mr. President. Allow me to continue. Witness, you said you witnessed the arrest of Kao, the chairman of the factory. Can you tell us the full name of Mr. Kao? Answer, I did not know his full name. I only refer to him as Brother Kao or Bong Kao. He was the chairman of the solving factory, and I didn't know his surname. Question. During the time that you worked in the solving factory, can you recall if any of the factory workers disappeared, and if so, how many? Answer, to my knowledge, 4 people disappeared. Question. When you saw people disappear or that a person was arrested, how did you feel? Answer, by witnessing that we, the factory workers, were afraid. But we had to do our work. I conclude my session now. Thank you, and I'd like to give the floor to my international colleague, Mr. President. President, yes, you may proceed.
Mr. President, Your Honours, good morning. Good morning to my fellow counsel, and good morning to you, Madam Ek Hen. Mr. President, with your leave, can I please pass to Madam Ek Hen 2 documents, D 1.3.32.1, which is the DC CAM record, and the OCIJ interview E3/474. The purpose is to clarify the dates of both of these events. Can I have your leave to hand over these documents in Khmer, please?
President, International Council for Khieu Samphan. You may proceed.
Oui, pouvez-vous répéter la deuxième?
Yes, could you please repeat the reference number for the second document? We did not hear it.
Yes, certainly. The second document is E3/474. That's the OCIJ interview record.
President, yes, you may do so. Court officer, please deliver the document from the prosecution for the witness examination.
Madam Hen, you've been passed two documents. The first one should be with a heading Documentation Centre of Cambodia, and it records an interview with you. It gives the location, and the date of the interview was the 6th of August 2003, and the interviewer was a man called Long Dani. Can you confirm that from the document that you have, please?
President, Madam Witness, please respond. Do you recognize this document, and have you read this document? Witness, yes, I've seen this document.
Thank you. And the other document you have, that is a written record of an interview with you that took place with the OCIJ investigators from this court. And if you look at the first words, they show that the date was the 5th of March 2008. Can you please confirm that you have that document and that you have had the chance to read it or had it read to you before coming before the court today?
Witness, I cannot read it well. In fact, I have it read by my other sister. To me, it's just dark lines of ink. I could not read it clearly, but indeed I have it read to me.
That's fine, thank you. I'm going to read an extract from this document word for word, and I'm going to ask if you stand by what you told the investigators. So, for everyone, this is document E3/474. The relevant page is English 00205049. In Khmer 00172064 through 5, and French 00205054. Question: did you ever know Nuon Chea, Khieu Samphan, Ing Sari, and Ing Tirit? Answer: I knew Nuon Chea and Khieu Samphan because they came to hold study meetings at Borek Kaila for the workers. I attended studies at Borek Kaila twice, The first time was in 1976, when Khieu Samphan led the study meeting at Borai Kaila. As for the content of the meeting, it seemed to be about striving to work, conservation, about food. At that time, Khieu Samphan brought up the matter of Pang, when he announced that Pang, the chairman of Office 870, had been arrested and taken away because he was a traitor collaborating with the Yuan. It was then that I learned that Pang was chairman of Office 870. I did not know what Office 870 did. I just knew that my garment unit was one branch of Office 870, where Pang had come to watch the work of the workers in my factory, and Khieu Samphan had come to look at my workplace in 1976. At that time, he came right at the time when the workers were eating, and he used my spoon to test the soup I was eating and asked, "Does the soup taste good?" I said it tasted good. Khieu Samphan came to look at the factory 3 or 4 times. End quote. So my first question, Madam Ekhen, is do you stand...
President, Counsel, you may proceed.
Oui.
Mr. President, I know the prosecutor is short of time, but I do find that the large volume of information that is being delivered to the witness en bloc, following a method that we have opposed several times, which involves rereading the transcript of an interview to then request confirmation, and where 20 lines are read en bloc to the witness. I would like to just say before the witness answers that the probative value of an exercise of this kind is frankly limited. Thank you.
President, the prosecution, you may continue.
My first question for you, Madam Ekhen, is do you stand by what you told the investigators in this extract? Yes or no?
Yes, I stand by my statement.
I'd like to ask you some questions now about the study meeting led by Khieu Samphan. My first question is, how many people in total were at this study meeting?
The study session at Borai Kaila comprised about 400 to 500 participants.
Thank you. Did any others from the garment factory go with you to the study meeting?
Yes. The transportation unit also attended.
Who told you that you had to go to the study meeting?
In fact, people from my units were assigned. For example, 5 people from a group were assigned and another 5 from another group were assigned. And actually it was kind of a rotation for attending that study session.
to your knowledge, had other garment workers gone to other study sessions before you?
Yes.
មានវគ្គតូ
As I said, we took turn to attend the study sessions. So after another group concluded, then our group attended the study session.
On the study session led by Q Sampon that you attended, how many days did the study meeting go on for?
It was a one-day study session, and we returned in the afternoon.
What time approximately did the study session start, and what time did it end?
The study session commenced at 7 a.m. and stopped at 10.
Can you please describe how the study meeting was opened?
The study session was open for many participants to attend. It was not a small study session, it was a large-scale study session.
Did somebody start the session by speaking, or how did it all start?
It started with him explaining and instructing the workers to strive hard in our work in order to assist our country.
When you say he, which man are you referring to?
I refer to Uncle Kiu Sampon.
What exactly did you have to do at the study meeting?
We sat down and listened to his instructions. He talked about struggle, about work, and we listened to his speech.
When he talked about the struggle, what did he say about the struggle? Who was the struggle with? What was the struggle about?
The struggle did not mean for anybody, but the struggle meant for us to be patient and to strive to work to fulfill the quota. People at that time engaged in rice farming and producing 3 tons per hectare, and for us, the factory workers, we had to strive to make a similar output in our work.
When Q Sampon was speaking, did you just sit and listen, or did you write down, or were people writing down what he had to say?
At that that time, for those who were literate, they would take note, and for those who did not know how to write, would just listen and sit and listen. And there were a lot of people who were illiterate at that time, because we were not that old enough, and we did not engage in any formal studies due to the war.
Did Khieu Samphan just speak, or did he use any documents?
It seems there was no document. He spoke about the work, about the struggle, and that we should allow one another and assist one another. He gave us a good advice. He did not want us to argue each other, but rather to consolidate and to start to work hard to build a country as the war had just ended.
During that day, roughly how long was Khieu Samphan speaking for?
I did not pay attention to how long he spoke, because he was speaking, then we broke, and then we resumed, and then he spoke again, and we broke for lunch.
So just to clarify, there was a session when Khieu Samphan spoke, there was a break, he spoke again, and then you had lunch. Is that correct?
Yes.
After lunch, did he speak again? Or what happened after lunch?
After lunch, he went to his place, and we broke into small groups for discussion.
When you broke up into the small groups for discussion, were there leaders for these discussions, or was it just the workers talking amongst themselves?
At that time, we were broke up into smaller groups, and for each group there would be a leader, and then it was a kind of a meeting to reflect ourselves of what we have done.
Now, the workers who attended that day, which offices, workplaces, or units were they from?
Are you referring to the study session at Boraikila? If so, there was the government unit, the transportation unit, and other units.
During this day when Khieu Samphan was speaking, did he say anything at all about enemies?
He did not say anything about that. He only spoke about the struggle and about hard working, about solidarity, and about building the country.
My next questions are to do with Pong. Did Khieu Samphan say when Pong had been arrested?
No, he did not say the date of his arrest. He said that Pong had been arrested, and that's all.
When he said that Pong had been arrested and taken away because he was a traitor collaborating with the Yuan, did he give any more details about how Pong had collaborated with the Yuan?
President, witness, please wait. The council, you may proceed. Kong Sam-on, thank you, Mr. President. I like to object to this question. The question is leading. As in the previous question, the witness never talked about Pong, and Pong raised the name, and the prosecution raised the name of Pong, and now he talked that Pong was a traitor, and the witness has not spoken anything about Pong. So these are leading questions, that is to already to give responses to the witness before she even speaks.
Mr. President, I'm reading again from the extract that I've already read, that the witness has already confirmed she stands by. I've checked with my learned colleague that the Khmer is correct, and so the extract from the statement reads, so that everyone can be sure. Khieu Samphan brought up the matter of Pong when he announced that Pong, the chairman of Office 870, had been arrested and taken away because he was a traitor collaborating with the Yuan. So my question is simply supplemental to that. Can I please have your permission to proceed?
The President, the objection is not sustained. Witness is now directed to respond to the question by the co-prosecutor. Please.
Madam Ek Heng, can I put the question this way? What exactly did Khieu Samphan say when he was speaking about Pong being a traitor who had collaborated with the Yuan?
Response. He didn't say much on this. He mentioned a person by the name of Pang who was a traitor, and he said we should not follow what Pang did. We had to reunite. And he referred to an analogy of solidarity by referring to a stick and a bundle of sticks. Chopsticks, I mean. So a bundle of chopsticks could not be broken easily.
At this time, were the Yuan treated as friends of the revolution or enemies of the revolution?
Response. Yuan was not regarded as our friends because in our country in those days there were only Cambodians, no Yuans. And he also mentioned something about this. He said Khmer had to be united, and Khmer shall be free of Vietnamese or the Yuans, and that we had to love one another.
Was this the first time you had heard the word traitor, whether for Pong or anyone? Or had people spoken about traitors before this study meeting?
Response: No, this word was never heard being spoken before. I just heard about it in the study session.
Did Khieu Samphan say where Pong had been taken after he was arrested?
Response: No, he didn't. He didn't mention on this. He just said he was taken away.
You said in the interview that Pong had come to watch the work at the factory. How many times did Pong come to watch the work at the factory, your factory?
Response: He came to inspect the work at the factory on 2 occasions, so far as I remember.
When Pong came on those 2 occasions, did any other senior people come with Pong to inspect the factory?
Response: He came by his car, and the group of 100 people would then have to accompany him to see other sewing sections.
I want to move on to Khieu Samphan's visits to the factory. You said that he came to the factory 3 or 4 times. When he came, who hosted Khieu Samphan at the sewing unit?
Response: When he came, we were still working and we had to rise to greet him. Sometimes he came alone with his driver, and briefly after visiting us, they would then return.
You mentioned an incident when he tested some soup. Now, did he ask for your spoon to test the soup, or did you just give it to him?
Response: We were having rice, and he saw us eating, and he tried to build a rapport with the workers. He would like to taste the soup, and then he grabbed the spoon and tasted the soup, and then he said it was delicious.
How far away from you was he when he tested the soup?
Response: The kitchen at Orusei location was a place where 3 rows of eating table were late, and this is the place where he came to test the soup.
But how close were you to him when he tested the soup?
Response: I was so close to him. We were at the same table.
Thank you. I'd like to move on to Nuon Chea, and I'm quoting now from the same document, which is the OCIJ statement, number E3/474, English 00205050, French 00205054, and French 00172065. You talked about a study meeting in Borai Kaila with about 500 people attending, workers and personnel. The content of the study meeting was about having workers strive to work, and if there were mistakes made, to have the workers reform themselves, defending the territory so the Yuan would not invade, about the North Zone Group's treason, about Khoi Thuan's treason, not letting workers to join in the treason, about loving the land and not killing one another, about striving to keep working up with the plans and knowing how to conserve. And he told us about the purge of those connected to Khoi Thuan. Close quote. Madam Ek Hen, do you stand by what you told the investigators of this court?
Response: I still do. Yes.
Now, for this study meeting, how many days did this study meeting with Nuon Chea go on for?
Response: the study session went on for the whole morning. In the afternoon, we then had to leave.
Now, when Nuon Chea was talking about Khoi Thuan's treason, what exactly did he say about Khoi Thuan's treason?
Response: no name was ever mentioned regarding treason or traitor, but a person disappeared one at a time, and during the session we heard about the message regarding solidarity, how to promote it.
The word treason appears 3 times in the extract that I have read. You have told the investigators that there was mention of the North Zone Group's treason, about Khoi Thuan's treason, and not letting workers to join in the treason. Now, is that right or is that wrong?
Response: it is right. I said so.
Can I just concentrate on the North Zone group's treason? What did Nguyen Chia say about that?
Response. About the North Zone treason, I didn't know much of the background, what happened at the North Zone, but during the study session he mentioned about the traitors, although he did not mention any particular individuals.
So that we can be clear, he talked about traitors, but did he or did he not mention by name Khoi Thuan?
Response. Yes, he did mention that Khoi Thuan was a traitor, and he didn't elaborate further on this. And I just heard that he referred to people being traitors in the North Zone, and that Khoi Thuan was a traitor, so we had to make sure we stay united.
Did you know if...
The President, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, could you please hold on, and Counsel Kope, you may now proceed.
Just a request of clarification. I hear Khoi Kun rather than Khoi Thun. Maybe that's... I see the prosecutor nod.
Did you know at this stage if Khoi Thuan had the alias of Khoi Kuan or not?
Response. I knew him as Khoi Thuan, and I don't know this person very well. Even the name has not been known to me precisely, and I never saw this person directly.
What exactly did Nguyen Chia say about not letting workers to join in the treason? Can you explain that a little bit more, please?
Response. He gave us advice, and he said if we knew that we were affiliated with this network, we had to be mindful and then stop our association with them before it's too late, and that he asked us not to be involved with these activities, and that we had to remain united and love one another.
What exactly did Nguyen Chia say about defending the territory so the Yuan would not invade?
Response. He didn't say much further on this. He just mentioned that we had to be shoulder to shoulder to protect our land, and that Khmers should love Khmers. That's what he said. He didn't mention about joining the treason or joining other factions.
And what exactly did Nguyen Chia say about the purge of people connected to whether it's Khoi Thuan or Khoi Kuan? So my question is, what did he say about the purge? How did he describe that?
Response. When it comes to purge, we ordinary workers felt normal, we were not affected, but the senior or our senior leaders or our superior could have been affected, but he didn't even talk about this to workers.
And you say that Nguyen Chia spoke about mistakes. What exactly did he say about mistakes or people making mistakes?
Response. After the study session, a meeting was convened when we broke into a group of 10 to engage in the live review session, and we were encouraged to talk about our disadvantages and bad points, and we had to put ourselves in the meeting to be criticized and given feedback. For example, we had to admit that what bad things that we had done and what else need to improve.
And after this study meeting with Nguyen Chia, did anything happen to people at the garment factory who made mistakes and were bad?
Response. After the study session and the live view meeting, we returned to our workplace and resumed our normal work, and I did not observe any things out of the ordinary.
Madam Ek Hen, thank you very much for answering my questions. I'd like to hand over now to my learned friends, lead co-lawyers for the civil parties.
The President, lead co-lawyers for the civil parties, you may now proceed if you wish.
Merci, Monsieur. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Counsel Christine Martineau and Counsel Kim Si-won will take the lead on putting questions to the witness. Thank you.
The President, you may proceed. Counsel Sin Savon. Good morning, Mr. President, and good morning, Your Honors. Good morning, my learned colleagues, and very good morning to you, Madam Ek Hen. I am Sin Savon, a co-lawyer for the civil parties. I have some questions to put to you regarding your experiences and knowledge of the events that happened during that period of time. My questions are more or less follow-up questions from the co-prosecution. You said you were asked to work in the mobile unit where you build dam. Then you volunteered to join the women mobile group in the East Zone. Is that true? Response. Yes, it is. Question. Why did you volunteer to join the women mobile unit? And how did you join this group? Response. At that time, I was building dam. I was very young, and the work was too hard for me, so I quit. And I said I would join the women mobile unit. It would be better than building dam, because if I die in the mobile unit, it was dying than working building dam, because it was too difficult. So I then become a female combatant, and then attached to the East Zone. Question. Thank you. At the beginning, when you volunteered to join this women mobile unit, who introduced you into this unit? And you said you became a women combatant. Did you ever engage in any battlefield or fighting in any battlefields? Response. The village youth committee came to get our names, those who would like to join the women mobile unit. Then I offered my name and volunteered to join the group. Question. Do you still remember the people in the committee or on the committee of the youth group in the village? Response. He was a person by the name of Ain. Later on, he also got a few more names from individuals who volunteer at the work site to join this mobile unit. Council, thank you. I have a few more questions, please. You said you already joined the woman mobile unit for 6 months. Is that correct? Response, yes, it is. Question. During this period of 6 months, did you ever attend any of the political study sessions or short study sessions? Response. First, I was put to live in Kanchri district. First, we did not attend any training sessions, but we learned on the job. I was asked to reassemble weapon, gun, and during the 6 month period I engaged in this military training and until its completion. Question. So in this women mobile unit you engaged more or less in military training other than political aspects, is that correct? Response. Yes, it is. Question. Thank you. You also testified that you worked in this mobile unit for 6 months and that later on you were sent back to Phnom Penh. How? Or why were you sent to Phnom Penh when you remained in the mobile unit? The President, witness is now directed not to respond to this question because the Chamber notes that this line of questioning is straying far further than the scope of the trial, because here the Chamber would like to hear witness who gives testimony regarding the scope of case file 002/01, and the key testimony today and tomorrow is more about the roles of the accused person and the policy of the joint criminal enterprise, that these alleged facts have already been laid down in the indictment. And This matter relates to the very final page of that indictment, and the Chamber also notes that the current few last questions are not relevant, and that the Chamber may not wish to hear such questions because they are not soliciting any probative value of evidence from this witness. So please be reminded to refrain from asking such questions and proceed to new questions if you wish. Counsel, thank you, Mr. President. I would like to move to new questions then. You said that Kao and Kun were arrested and you saw them being arrested. Apart from these two individuals who were arrested, who else did you see being arrested? Response. Apart from these individuals, there were two more people who also were taken away. These include a person by the name of Thon and another person whose name I don't remember, and I'm afraid it's difficult for me to remember this, but I can say that 4 people disappeared, so far as I know. Question. So, 3 people, including the people you knew the name and the one whose name you don't remember, when exactly were these people arrested? I mean, in the morning, midday, or at night? Response. I think I still remember this precisely because I was still working at the sewing section. It was at 9 a.m. in the morning when a vehicle was seen parked in the complex. I did not know where these people would be taken to, but I saw them being led away. Question. Thank you. In your statement, document E3/474, English ERN 0020 5049 and French 0020 5053 and English Khmer 0017 2064. The co-investigating judges asked you the question whether people disappeared from your unit, and you said there was some disappearance and people were loaded into the concealed truck when armed people were escorting them. First, people were arrested, and later on, people from the east and the north were also arrested because they were accused of being traitors. Kao was also arrested in 1977. He was accused of being affiliated with the East String or network. I just don't know what happened. My question to you now is, how did you know the people who are affiliated with the network in the north and in the east zones were arrested? Response. We heard from one another, and it was quite common that we heard people in the north were arrested, and this information was confirmed by our seeing people being disappearing one after another. I never saw this, but I heard. Question: have you ever heard the term enemy being mentioned in those days? Response: there were no enemies, and I haven't heard such thing as enemies. Counsel: thank you. Now I'm referring to the same document, E3/474, under Khmer ERN 00172065, English ERN 00205050, and French ERN 00205054. On that page, you said Mr. Nuon Chea led a study meeting at Borei Kela in 1978 with about 500 people attending. This include workers and personnel. The content of the study meeting was about having workers strive to work, and if there were mistakes made, to have the workers reform themselves, defending the territory so the Yuan would not invade, and about the North Zone group's treason, about Koi Thun's treason, and not letting workers to join in treason, about loving the land and not killing one another, about striving to work to keep up with the plans and knowing how to conserve. And he told us about the purge of those connected to Koi Thun. End of quote. When you said striving to work to keep up with the plans, what does that mean? For example, if people could not work to keep up with the plan, what could happen to them? The President, witness, could you please hold on? National Counsel for Mr. Kilsampon, you may now proceed. Counsel Kong Som-on. Thank you, Mr. President. I take issue with this line of questioning because it's a kind of hypothetical question, because she asked for the witness to speculate. Counsel, thank you. Mr. President, this question is put because I refer to her statement. She said that Nuon Chea asked a worker to strive to work in order to keep up with the plans. And my question is, if in her unit, for example, a worker could not keep up with the plan, what happened to him or her? The President, the objection is sustained. The question was of hypothetical nature, and witness is now directed not to respond to the question. Counsel, thank you, Mr. President. I will then have my final question, please. Madam Witness, you worked in Phnom Penh in 1976 all the way to 1979 when the Vietnamese came. During this period of time, had you have any opportunities to visit your hometown? Response. Since the time I left my home, which was in 1974, all the way to 1979, I had never been able to visit home. In 1979, I was then transferred to the Srah Keo refugee camp. Counsel, thank you. Do you know why you were not allowed to visit home? Because you had been working for quite some time and you were not allowed to pay a visit to your home. Why? Response: I don't know. But the only thing I know is that since I left home, I never been allowed to go back. And I would never complain because they didn't allow me to do so. Question: what happened if you visited home? The President: witness, please not respond to this question. The chamber is stunned by way of putting this question to the witness. What is the purpose behind putting this question? What do you want from the witness or the chamber to understand your objective by putting such question? Counsel: thank you, Mr. President. That already concludes my questioning time. The President, please advise the chamber as to how much time would you need to put more questions like this. Counsel, last question. Madam Witness, when did you get married? Response: I was married in 1979. It was in late 1979. Counsel: thank you. During the time when you worked at the sewing unit, did you see whether women in your unit were forced to get married? The President: Counsel Kong Som On, you may now proceed. Counsel Kong Som On: thank you, Mr. President. This question is nothing relevant to the scope of case file 002/01. And I also note that time has already been used, and the President already made clear that no additional time would be provided to counsels. Can counsel also be following such instruction? Counsel Sivon, this question is relevant to the case. The President, witness, you are now directed not to respond to the question.
Monsieur le Président, bonjour Monsieur le Président, Mesdames.
Mr. President, Your Honors, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. President, do I have your leave to pose a few very brief questions before the lunch adjournment, or do you have a preference to begin my cross-examination following the break?
The President, you will be provided the opportunity to put these questions now and be very brief and straightforward to the matter before us so that the chamber will have some ground for consideration during its final consideration of the case.
Monsieur le Président, j'essaierai.
Mr. President, I shall endeavor to be very brief and concise given the number of questions that have been asked. I wish to ask, Madam Witness, for a brief summary on the issue of training. Madame, you talked about the training that you had undergone with Mr. Kyo Sompong, and you referred to a certain number of seminars with Mr. Nunchia. You stated in your interview before DCCAM, and I can provide the ERN numbers 0079 52 96 in French and English 0066 2015, and in Khmer 000 19 582. Madame, you stated that Peng in Office 870 was also in charge of training. Now, in today's testimony, I didn't hear you talk about that specific role that Pong played, can you please tell us when he provided the training and with whom he dispensed the training?
Response. I said already that I did not attend any study sessions chaired by or lectured by Pang. I did attend sessions where Khieu Samphan and Nuon Chea chaired. I mentioned about Pang because I heard his name being mentioned.
C'est sans doute une mauvaise.
Perhaps there was a misunderstanding, therefore, and a problem with translation. Madam Witness, referring to what you stated earlier, you said that Mr. Khieu Samphan came to your factory in order to carry out an inspection. Now, aside from tasting the soup, did Mr. Khieu Samphan check up on your working conditions? Did he inquire on your work hours, how you were working, what was happening in the factory?
Response. By and large, when he came to this place, he took the advantage of the opportunity to visit the workers, but he didn't spend much time there before he returned.
Did other laborers such as yourself, were you represented? Did you assign any delegate aside from your group leader to speak or act on your behalf?
Response. In the solving unit, there were 17 units from Unit 1 to Unit 17, and these were the women units. They were from the east and the north. They were combined. There were about 100 women from the east. So among the 17 women mobile unit, the majority of these people were from the north. And in each unit, there were 3 subgroups. And we were working at different houses. And we would not be allowed to mingle or walk about freely.
Vous n'avez pas tout à fait répondu à ma question.
You did not answer my question. But I will proceed with my subsequent question. Did Mr. Khieu Samphan or other leaders come to the factory to carry out any inspections, and was it possible for the workers there to convey their wishes or to make any comments or express any criticism of what was happening at the factory, the working conditions, and how people were being treated or working?
Response. He came to the workplace without bringing in any requests, but we could see him waving to us and talking to us, encouraging us to work harder, to help one another, and the produce or the final product would be sent out. So he only came to boost our morale.
Est-ce que
Following his visits, did the working conditions or the food rations improve and increase respectively, because you said that he was there to boost morale? And you have stated on previous occasions that the work was extremely exhausting and that you yourself were quite tired from the work.
Response. After his visit, food was sufficient. We had plenty of rice and the soup was delicious. And we also managed to raise some pigs and poultry, and we also grew our own vegetables in our backyard, because at that time there was no market that we could buy vegetables or food, so we were growing the vegetables and raised these domestic animals. And then we would bring the vegetable to the kitchen, people who cooked for us. The President, Council, do you still have some more questions? But the time allocated to you has already been used. The President, can you turn on the console?
Yes, I only have one or two questions remaining. I wish to read to Madame Witness an extract.
The President, well, it is not about wasting time putting questions, but it is more a practical issue because the CD has run out, so we need to make sure the new one is in place to replace the old one.
s'il n'y a plus de DVD, Monsieur le Président, je suis obligée de m'arrêter.
Then I will have to observe a pause. In that case, Mr. President.
The President, thank you for being understandable. And now it is already appropriate moment for lunch, and we would like to adjourn. And the court officer is now instructed to assist the witness during this adjournment and have her return to the courtroom in the afternoon at 1:30 p.m. Security personnel are directed to take Mr. Kyu Sompon to his holding cell and have him returned to the courtroom before 1:30 p.m. The court is adjourned.
សូមក្រោកឈរ